Rome, the Eternal City, a city of emperors, generals, and great leaders, and among them, Titus stands out as one of the most revered. Known as the darling of mankind, Titus led Rome through triumph and tragedy. Titus Flavius Vespasianus was born on December 30, 39 AD, into a rising but relatively humble family. His father Vespasian was a successful general and later became emperor, while his mother Domitilla the Elder came from an equestrian family. He was part of the Flavian dynasty, which marked a turning point in Roman history. Unlike the previous Julio-Claudian emperors, who came from Rome's ancient aristocracy, the Flavians were considered new men. Vespasian and his sons, Titus and Domitian, rose to power through military achievements rather than noble bloodlines. Titus's father Vespasian had a distinguished military career before his rise to power. He was instrumental in the conquest of Britain and held various important roles under Emperor Claudius. Titus had two siblings, his younger brother Domitian and his sister Domitilla the younger. Domitian would go on to succeed him as emperor, but Titus's relationship with his brother was complex. Growing up in the shadow of his father's military career, Titus received an exceptional education. He was trained not just in warfare, but also in diplomacy and administration. Though born into a rising family, Titus's future as emperor wasn't guaranteed. His family had to navigate the dangerous political waters of Rome, especially after the chaotic rule of Nero. In the year 66 AD, the First Jewish-Roman War was erupted in the province of Judea, a region under Roman rule for over a century. Tensions between the Jewish population and their Roman governors had been building for years. A series of corrupt procurators, heavy taxation, and religious interference had inflamed the situation. The Jewish population had always been fiercely independent and deeply tied to their religion. Roman attempts to control the region led to increasing resistance, and by 66 the rebellion had exploded into a full-scale revolt. Rome responded swiftly. The Emperor Nero sent one of his most trusted generals, Vespasian, to put down the rebellion. Vespasian led a massive Roman force into Judea, slowly and methodically reclaiming the rebel-held territories. By 67, he had regained control of most of the region, but left the decisive blow, the siege of Jerusalem, for his son, Titus. Titus was just 29 years old when he was given command of the Roman forces in Judea. His task was not easy. Jerusalem was one of the most fortified cities in the ancient world, defended by factions of Jewish rebels. The siege began, and Titus's legions surrounded the city, cutting off all supplies in an attempt to starve the defenders into submission, but the siege dragged on for months. Titus employed brutal tactics to break the city's defenses. His forces built massive siege works and launched relentless assaults on Jerusalem's walls. After months of bitter fighting, the Romans finally breached the outer defenses, and the battle for the city began in earnest. The climax of the siege came with the destruction of the Second Temple, one of the most sacred sites in Judaism. It's said that Titus tried to preserve the temple, but in the chaos of battle, it was set ablaze. The destruction of the temple was a profound event, marking the end of Jewish resistance and the beginning of the Jewish diaspora. The aftermath of the siege was catastrophic for the Jewish population. Jerusalem was sacked, its inhabitants either killed or sold into slavery. To commemorate his victory, Titus had the famous Arch of Titus constructed in Rome. It still stands today as a symbol of Roman military might. After Vespasian's death in 79 AD, Titus ascended to the throne. Many feared that his rule would be harsh, especially after his reputation as a general. But to everyone's surprise, Titus proved to be a compassionate and generous ruler. Titus's reign was short, only 2 years, but in that time, he showed incredible humanity. His motto was to do good for the public, and he worked tirelessly to improve the lives of his citizens. During Titus's reign, one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in Roman history occurred, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. The cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum were buried under volcanic ash, and thousands lost their lives. Despite the tragedy, Titus responded swiftly, using his personal wealth to fund relief efforts. He organized aid for survivors and ordered the rebuilding of devastated areas, cementing his legacy as a compassionate ruler. Just a year later, disaster struck again. a massive fire ravaged Rome, destroying large parts of the city. Once more, Titus stepped up, leading reconstruction efforts and providing aid to the victims. Titus also completed the construction of one of Rome's most iconic landmarks, the Colosseum. Originally started by his father, Titus finished the project and even held lavish games to celebrate its opening. Tragically, Titus's reign was cut short. He died unexpectedly in 81 AD at the age of 41, leaving the empire in the hands of his younger brother, Domitian.